And the only theory that I can come up with that makes the most sense, placing it with the forensic evidence and the timing, is that they were surveilling and monitoring me, whoever the interlopers were, to find out who I was speaking to, who was speaking to me, much as they were apparently legally doing, the government was legally doing in the case of Associated Press and Fox News. There were efforts to find out what leakers were speaking to these people, and I too was dealing with government whistleblowers and sources that I think people would be curious to know about.
But again, the they there is the government, is the U.S. federal government in some capacity, is your assertion?
My assertion is that the forensics examinations showed that there were government ties. In other words, the very first one said the software used was a commercial, non-attributable software proprietary to a government agency. Now, I don't know everything that means. That was the phrasing provided to me, but I was told that the software is used by either one of four three-letter federal agencies. That was what was reported to me. I certainly didn't originally suspect that or know about that. I certainly never thought the government was surveilling me when this all started. It was only when the forensics evidence came back.
So I want to lay out the most cynical interpretation of what you're doing so that you can respond to it, because there are some people who are interpreting this way, right? And here's the basic. You perhaps noticed that there's a very active world of conservative media. It can be very lucrative. People sell a lot of books. And you've got this book. You were at a book party with Daryl Issa and a bunch of Fox News personalities and conservative luminaries. And people, I think, look at this and think, oh, well, she just sort of saw the writing on the wall. She was not happy at CBS, or she was being pushed out, or she had beef with management, and she thought, I can make myself, a big conservative hero and go out and sort of cash in the world of conservative media. What do you say to people who are watching this and drawing that interpretation?
Well, the first thing, and again, it's
because you just put it in people's
head. Reporting, for example, I don't blame you for picking up the news that was reported and assuming it was some sort of conservative party based on what was reported. They left out the fact that there were people there from the Center for Public Integrity, from ProPublica, Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times reporter, whistleblowers, the former director of the Acorn office in Washington, D.C. This certainly was a very mixed party, but as the media reported it, yes, they made it sound like some sort of conservative gathering.
Daryl Issa was there, though, right?
Absolutely. Yes, there were conservatives and liberals there praising me. So you can cherry pick half of them and say conservatives are there praising me. Yes, that's true. But to leave out the other part is, I think, sort of a syndrome that's been going on in the reporting about what I do. As to whether you think I'm cashing in on this, you're free to draw that conclusion. I really don't know what to say to that, except if you want to read the book and you find it interesting, you can draw your own conclusion. And some people may say, yes, that's exactly what's happening. And others may find it to be an honest and insightful look at some things in the media.
I will give you points for your response to an accusation you're cashing in to say, buy the book and find out whether I am or not. That is extremely well played. Well, what is next for you? Here, let me ask you this question. You're sitting here talking to me right now, and look, I don't like it. There's some people saying, well, she's a conservative, and you're saying I'm politically agnostic. I could care less what your politics are. But my feeling is that people should just be honest about them in any way, right? But like people are watching you. Like, are we going to see you as a Fox News contributor or writing for a conservative outlet next? I mean, can you tell me right here that that's not the way this is going?
I can't tell you what's next. I haven't made any decisions or commitments, but I don't know if you've had a chance to read the book, and maybe not, but many things in there talk about the conservative/corporate bias in the news that slant stories versus the liberal bias. The idea that this is somehow a book that goes for conservative interests has been perpetuated, that notion, by the same people that want to discredit and disparage what I do.
There's a lot of stuff about corporate interests. There's a lot of stuff about advertisers and advertorials, and there's a lot of stuff about the fluffiness of the news and the impossibility of investigation and investigative reporting and getting it in even when it might threaten important business interests. So I totally agree on that.
Political stories such as Rachel Maddow on MSNBC praising my work, my investigation into Republican Stephen Booyer, who resigned from Congress a short time after my investigation into him. The Emmy Awards I've won investigating Bush administration, for example, the bait and switch on TARP, the bank bailout. The Emmy I won last year involving the investigation I did on Republican presidents and the hypocrisy of their fundraising as they hobnobbed down in Key Largo with the big money donors. So I think it's a little oversimplistic and perhaps unfair, but not surprising, to paint my book or me as somebody who's cashing in on conservative interests are solely considered in conservative interests.
But Sharyl, come on, you know where your bread is being buttered right now. I mean, you're like the toast.
What is your problem, dude? Jesus Christ.
I guess if you say so, I would say this is
She's like the most
maybe
poised
the first or
woman
second
I've
time
ever seen in my
invited
life.
on your network, but it's not because I've chosen who invites me to speak somewhere. I've also been on C-SPAN and Al Jazeera quite frequently, and ABC this week, and HBO. I've had discussions with many different networks and places. I certainly am not skewing my appearances, and I think they are sometimes skewed in their reporting. The diverse groups that I've appeared on disappear when people want to report about me as a conservative. They just say that I've been on Fox, and they ignore all of these other places where I've appeared.
Sharyl Attkisson, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Chris, thanks.
But that is all for this evening. The Rachel Maddow Show starts right now. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening.
Thank you.
And thank you for staying with us for the next hour. Apparently, just because there was a huge national election on Tuesday, that doesn't mean we can't also have a huge Friday night news dump tonight. And yes, we do a thing at the end of the show on Friday nights that we jokingly call the Friday night news dump here, but that's not what I mean. Tonight there was an actual Friday night news dump from Washington that we didn't expect, and that is very, very big news. Tonight the White House put out their official